Headaches and Heartaches on Midlands Today. Brought to you by the beautiful Abbey Bloom's Botanical Gardens and Cafe Community Initiative in Multifarnham, County Westmeath. A wonderful space for relaxation designed to promote positive mental health and well-being for all. Find Abbey Bloom's Botanical Gardens on Facebook.
It's time for Headaches and Heartaches. And it's our chance to get through some of those everyday bothers, and some of them are maybe not so everyday. But for instance, the argument that comes up again and again and again, and you and your partner, despite your best wishes, you just can't leave it. One or other can't move on, cannot leave it in the past. So what is the solution to this? Well, let's welcome once more Rory Hafford, who is a psychotherapist and author from Lusnagrena Family Resource Centre. And by the way, Headaches and Heartaches kindly sponsored by Abbey Bloom's Botanical Garden and Cafe in Multifarnham. Good morning, Rory.
Hey, Will, how are you?
I'm grand. I can move on past problems. I don't hold it against you, for instance, that you ignored me on the street in Mullingar. I don't keep bringing it up.
Yeah, no, you never know. You hardly ever mention it, no.
Indeed. Much like Amber in Portlaoise and her partner.
Much like Amber,
yeah, seem to just can't break this cycle of dispute. She doesn't tell us what the point of dispute is, but one way or the other, it's coming up again and again.
It is, and certainly in the clinic, you'd come across this more often than not. You're right. You need more specifics. What's the actual row about, and why does it keep repeating itself? But look, we'll do it in the generic and take it from there. But generally speaking, if an argument can't be put to bed, it means that we're not solution focused. We're focused on the problem. Now, this is another huge thing in the new Irish psyche. If we've a choice to focus on something bad or something good, the bad's going to get it. If we've a choice to focus on the solution rather than the problem is going to be the focus. And we really need to, as a people, we need to cop ourselves on with this and just go, where are the solutions? It's not about questions. It's about answers. But a lot of people get stuck in this because they're protecting their little piece of turf, and they're holding on to it, and they feed off it, and there's an energy with this. Well, I'm over here and you're over there. I don't know, Will, if you saw a movie called Warriors. It was out back in the late 70s. You got to check it out. Google that stuff.
I'm too young, Rory.
I know. It's remiss of me even to bring it up. Let me make the point on it. So Warriors was about gang warfare in New York, where there was about a gazillion separate gangs. They were all killing each other. And then the head of the biggest gang brought all of them together. Now these lads used to kill each other, and he fixed the problem. And he fixed it with one simple suggestion. What is in it for us? So if we declare a truce, if we declare peace between ourselves, instead of trying to protect our little piece of turf, all this awaits us. Now, Amber could actually adopt that method and go, okay, what's in it for me? What are the benefits of making this work? Because at the moment, it's going the other way. They're feeding off negative benefits. So she needs to sit down with this. And there is one sure way to make this work. Amber sees it from his point of view, and he sees it from Amber's point of view, and they pull for each other. So instead of looking at the problem from your vantage point, come over to his and look at the way he's looking at it there. It will just give you a different perspective of it. Because let's face it, something now is better than nothing, because they're stuck. They're stuck at the moment, so they need to do something different. And the last point that I'd make on this issue is communication is absolutely essential. And communication is one of these big amorphous words. People don't really understand what it is. But if you go into it from a humanistic point of view, it's incredibly important, because 93% of our communication is made up of what we see and what we hear. That means just 7% goes to the words that we use. Makes you think.
It is. Body language is the big one. Tone after that, and
tone,
words in the halfpenny place.
Yeah, but particularly in a situation like this, tone would be paramount.
Siobhan is next, and she, unfortunately, her 4-year-old has just been diagnosed with autism, which isn't unusual these days, and unfortunately she finds it hard to accept. It's beginning to impact on her relationship with her child, and I think leaving the autism itself out of this, when you are confronted with a diagnosis and it's your own flesh and blood and you want all the best for them, you get a lot of conflicting emotion. How do you process it?
Yeah, it's tough. This is a tough situation, and what I want to do with this, Will, if I may, is actually stand back from an empathic point of view and go, okay, what can we do about it? Because I understand the pain that Siobhan is going through, absolutely fundamentally. So I don't want anybody texting in or ringing in and saying, "Oh, your man was a bit blunt or a bit cruel." And I'm not that kind of a person, as you well know. But sometimes, if you need to push somebody through something very, very important, then you have to black and white it a little bit. And I'll tell you the thing that jumped out at me in her query is she's finding it hard to accept. Think about that. It means she cannot accept it. So if she cannot accept the diagnosis of her child, she is resistant to that diagnosis. She doesn't want it to be. And it could be argued from a psychotherapeutic point of view, she's transferring that resistance onto the child. So now there could be a negative association with the child. Every time she looks at him, she sees autism, as opposed to the child. We haven't got a name for him, so we don't. So as opposed to the child itself. So that's important to actually take that into cognition. She rejects the autism, Will, it could be argued. If she rejects the autism, in a sense, she rejects the child. So in this situation, and it's a very difficult one, acceptance is the key. So let me tell you I'll give you a tiny example of how this works. Say, for instance, we're getting dressed to go out on a night, haven't been out in yonks, and you look out the window and it's bashing down with rain. And because we're Irish, we'll go, "Feckin' rain, mother of God, you can't even walk from the house to the car. I hate this country." Yeah. Now, that's the emotional response. If you remove the emotion from that, what are you left with? You're left with water coming from the sky. That's all. Now, if you remove the emotion from anything, and in this case we're talking about autism, and again, it'd be nice to have more detail because there are varying levels of autism.
Exactly, it's a spectrum, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. But we just say, so now the rain falling from the sky is the autism in Siobhan's case. Rain falling from the sky is elemental. The universe doesn't change, it just is. And with diagnoses of this, that can be very, very difficult to come to terms with. It just is. So it doesn't matter how much you're resistant to it or how much pain that you are in. And it's understandable. Or how bleak the future is. This little kid needs his mother. Simple as. The kid didn't ask for this diagnosis, no more than Siobhan did. So she needs now, at this point, more than ever, to try and work on the acceptance of the very real diagnosis. The other thing I would suggest is learn as much as you can about autism, as much as you can, and then finally, it wouldn't do any harm at all for Siobhan to talk to a therapist or a counsellor on this issue.
Having wrestled with something not dissimilar, I suspect part of what she's worried about is the unknown. As we've said, it's a spectrum, and you don't know, nor can you know at a child only 4 years of age what the future holds, how it will develop and evolve. There are people who have autism who have the most amazing gifts, intellectual gifts, creative gifts, and it's it's an intrinsic part of who they are, and it's just a difference. It's not a disadvantage. Now, granted, it can be more severe in other cases. And it's the fear of the unknown as well that complicates and muddies this, I suspect, because when your child is 4, you never know what the future holds, but suddenly there's a label on it, and now you've got something to fear.
Yeah, no, I agree absolutely, and the fear of the unknown is something that plagues us all. Irrespective of how we are in the world, you don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. So just working to be present with something means that you're back in control, because the fear of the unknown is also tied in with the fast forwarding into the future, which means a lack of control, which leads to a stress kind of a situation in its own right. And one of the main ways to deal with that, or to tackle it, is to be as present as you can be, because we are only ever in control in the present.
Let's take a quick pause, because the dating field has never been busier, in that once upon a time you had to go to your local pub and awkwardly side up to somebody during a loud set and try and hope they would notice you. These days, you just swipe right if you're interested, and the amount of the amount of people you can meet is amazing. But is it any more fulfilling, or could it even be less? That's next.
Headaches and Heartaches on Midlands Today, brought to you by the beautiful Abbey Blooms Botanical Gardens and Cafe Community Initiative in Multifarnham, County Westmeath. A wonderful space for relaxation designed to promote positive mental health and well-being for all. Find Abbey Blooms Botanical Gardens on Facebook.
Our next query is from Oliver in County Laois, we'll say, just to protect his anonymity. And like many people, he's been on dating apps for the last few years. And while he can meet loads of people, he's finding it impossible to make a connection. And he thinks he's getting on well, and the next moment he's deleted. So he's wondering, is there something wrong with him? I imagine this isn't unusual.
Oh, I hate this stuff. This drives me bonkers. But that's me giving vent to the age, I suppose. He gets deleted. Think about it. He gets deleted. He gets cancelled. We get blocked. We get expunged from the world. I mean, we're rejected because of the shape of our head on a picture. And people go, no, I won't have him, or I won't have her. It's absolute. The problem is not with Oliver. It's with this ridiculous online world nonsense, what they call a two-dimensional existence. You and your screen. But the real world is three-dimensional. It actually contains other people, You are aware that there are other people in the world. Get out and meet them. Do you remember in our day, Will, it was Cleary's clock? Under the clock, I'll meet you there. And lo and behold, there was another human being. Real, flesh, blood, breathing,
Actually, under the Cleary's clock, and that's in Dublin, obviously, and the term meet. In Kildare, we would say, are you going to shift somebody? Whereas in Dublin, they'd say, are you going to meet somebody? So I got quite a shock under the Cleary's clock once upon a time.
I know. I'd say you did. But look, Oliver has not been rejected, as he puts it, or deleted, as he puts it, because they don't know Oliver. They're actually putting an entire character thing on Oliver based on a picture and a couple of lines. It's nonsense. But look. The good news is, for every, and I hope I can say this in the midst of toxic political correctness, the good thing is that for every man there is a woman. This is what we used to hear, and there used to be an old Woody Allen joke where he said, "For every man there is a woman," which means there's some guy out there with 2 women. Okay, it was funny at the time, and maybe my delivery wasn't as good. But here's what I'd say to Oliver: get off your phone, get off your laptop. Get off TikTok or whatever and get out there into the real world, because this online stuff is not real.
But there's another problem, and I've observed this in a friend of mine who shall remain nameless, Barry. And
I know Barry.
once upon a time, Barry would have met somebody in the local pub, and it was a shallow pool of people to draw from. So he would have given them a chance, and it wouldn't have ended at 2 dates. You'd be bloody grateful you got the second date. Whereas with Tinder and Bumble and Plenty of Fish and whatever, there's always going to be another choice. So if they don't float your boat immediately, you move on. It's this instant gratification that stems from a wider cultural issue.
Absolutely, you're spot on. And this is a huge problem. The instant gratification world. They want it now, and they want everything now, and they want it all now, and they want it all airbrushed, and they want it all perfect. Real life is not like that. There's no such thing as perfection for openers. Real life is not like that. This is not real. We are in the world in concert with other people. So you need to connect in that way. Not sitting behind a computer in your bedroom or down in mom's garage. You need to get out there, walk around and connect. I'm going to put it to the test this week, Will, and I'll report back to you on it.
All right. Rory, on that note, we have to leave it there, and I'm grateful as always for your time. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks, Will.
Headaches and Heartaches on Midlands Today, brought to you by the beautiful Abbey Blooms Botanical Gardens and Cafe Community Initiative in Multifarnham, County Westmeath. A wonderful space for relaxation designed to promote positive mental health and well-being for all. Find Abbey Blooms Botanical Gardens on Facebook.